you. So to the audience, let's give some reaction to welcome Mr. Caleb Lomo to take us through today's webinar. With some reactions, let's welcome Mr. Caleb. So Mr. Caleb, the
Yeah.
audience, Mr. Caleb.
All right. Thank you, CC. Um, and I'm glad to be the first speaker this year. Um, Good day to everyone, and welcome once again. Today we are looking at a topic I love so much, but then we are also looking at the other side of it, carbon dioxide removal. This time around, we are not looking at it just as a climate topic. So we are not just talking about it in a climate perspective, but we also want to look at the careers, the jobs, the opportunities that it presents to African youth. Um, yeah, so I expect that by the end of this session, within an hour or so, participants would understand what CDR is. They would learn um, what's what the issues around CDR is. They'll also discover pathways and explore um, the range of careers that we have around CDR. Sorry. They also build skills in the area of CDR. They'll find opportunities, and then more importantly, they'll take action. They'll take action. So this is not just one of those webinars. It's not just one of those lectures. We expect that you take action. And this is one thing I know about the team at Eco Frontiers. Even after a training, so after my last training, I've not been certified yet because I've not. I mean, I have to take action. Even though I've taken the action, it is not. I must not take the action within my own business. I must go out. So I know they are interested in action. Now I want to ask a critical question that so in Africa now, what does carbon dioxide removal mean to you? Is it a challenge or an opportunity?
Mr.
It
Caleb,
is
I'm sorry to interrupt. Please, pause. Let me give these rules, ground rules, so that you could continue quickly. So, to my audience, if you have any question as Dr. Caleb goes on, you can kindly put it in the chat. I'll take note of it, and then when it's the Q&A time, I throw it back to Dr. Caleb to answer them. Thank you so much. Dr. Caleb, please, you can continue.
all right. Thank you. Yeah. So then again, it's climate change, carbon dioxide removal. Does it present Africa with a challenge or an opportunity? And I want you to reflect on some of these things. For me, Africa has one of the greatest opportunities in all time to actually reduce emissions, not just reduce it, but go beyond it to also remove it. We talk about reducing emissions these days a lot, but the opportunity is in emission reduction, yes. But then the conversation should also go beyond the reduction to a removal. And that is where we can really see we are working. Of course, we contribute very least to climate change. However, we feel the pains most. But then, because we have a lot of untapped opportunities, we are feeling the heat. There's a lot of natural resources, there's a lot of forests, there's a lot of lands, which we can actually leverage to remove emissions. And these are some of the things we would be discussing along the lines. It is not a challenge to us. It shouldn't be a problem at all because we are in the position to lead this, not just follow it. Now, why is CDR an urgent and relevant issue in Africa? Because, I mean, Africa has a plethora of issues which can be linked to CDR, youth and employment. So, though we are the most youthful population, we still struggle with like jobs, not just jobs, but we struggle with decent jobs. Okay, most of us depend on agriculture. I mean, in some literature, we know that almost 60% of Ghanaians depend on agriculture. Some way, somehow, a lot of people, everybody farms, everybody eats food, nobody smokes gas, nobody drinks oil. So then we depend on agriculture. Even if you don't depend on it as a livelihood, you depend on it for sustenance. We need trees to get good air. These days, the whole place is hot and we are planting trees. It all means that we depend on agriculture. Then one of the serious challenges plaguing Africa is waste management. We cannot manage our waste as well. And I mean, all these present opportunities for us to look at CDR pathways because, of course, waste generates a lot of carbon dioxide, but it generates a lot of methane, which is more potent than carbon dioxide. So, I mean, looking at these problems, climate vulnerability, today farmers are having dry spell somewhere in the north. Tomorrow there's so much rain that have destroyed people's farms. Tomorrow next there's some flood that has destroyed people's homes and all that. All these problems tell me that there's an urgent need for CDR job opportunity pathways, and it's so relevant now. Now, before we even get into it, the career pathways, opportunities, the skills, which I know is of area of interest to most of us. What is CDR really? Because I mean, CC mentioned CDR. I think in the last few minutes, about five or so, I've mentioned CDR not less than five times. What is it? So CDR is basically carbon dioxide removal. That's what we call CDR, and it refers to ways of taking carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and storing it in the long term, either in the soil or in some geological formation. So either in soils, in rocks, it's all CDR. Once you are pulling carbon dioxide literally from the air and storing it somewhere, it's just CDR. And how do we really do this? So in Ghana, we know tree planting is one of the most simplest ways to do this. So the Green Ghana project in the previous administration, agroforestry, they are planting trees. I know FAO is supporting a project to plant trees, because when we plant trees, basic science tells us that these trees sequester carbons and lock it up into the soil. So it's one of the ways we can actually lock up CO2. Also, soil carbon. So once there's a lot of life in the soil, it stores carbon. It has a way of attracting the carbon, pulling the carbon, and then storing it in itself. Once there's life, unfortunately, these days there are a lot of soils without life. But then we in our quest, I mean, we at Green Hearts, what we do, we are bringing life back into the soil so that the soil can store carbon. It can be a carbon sink, so to say. Biochar is one thing, one of my biases. I'm really biased towards biochar because that's what I do. Usually, when these plants store carbon, we cut them. Once you cut them, they decompose. As they decompose, they release the carbons into the soil. Sorry, the carbons back into the atmosphere. But what biochar does is that the technology makes us gather all these wood shrubs, trees that has been cut, and then we take it through a system called pyrolysis. So we burn it literally with the absence of oxygen, and then make it a more stable form of carbon, rich material, and then we apply it to the soil or other forms of application, just so that the carbon is not released back into the atmosphere, but then it is stored in the material for centuries. As a matter of fact, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change have said that biochar can store carbon for centuries. So biochar is not the same as charcoal. Let's get it straight. Then there are other forms of carbon storage. You can do that through direct air capture. They call it DAC. So these are huge machines that actually capture carbon from the atmosphere and stores it in itself or converts it into something else that could be used industrially. Now, earlier in the earlier slides, we looked at the problems plaguing Africa and how CDR positions Africa to solve these problems. I mean, I mentioned youth unemployment. CDR is not just one of those things, but then if we really give attention to it, it can create job at scale. I run Brain Heart. It's a CDR business. I have created jobs for about 13 people. Now, imagine there are my kind of businesses, about 100 of them, all spread across the country. It means we are doing like 13 by 100. Okay, that has reduced unemployment. Eco Frontiers is also CDR, not directly, but they do a lot of advocacy. I know they've employed some people who are advocating for CDR, who are advocating for other forms of climate stuff. Imagine if we had 100 of them as well. You can see how much jobs is being created. So CDR matters because it creates jobs at scale. And you see, job creation is not just like putting people together, giving them an environment to work. We are talking about job creation at scale. So it is because of my the scale I operate, I'm employing 13. If I am able to move from a small business to a medium scale enterprise, it means I'm going to create more jobs because I'll need more hands. So it doesn't just create jobs, but creates them at scale. Unlike retail businesses, you need just one or two people to be working. For this, you need, I mean, there's a whole value chain. So you need people all across the value chains. Again, it helps us to improve our soil. So what we do at Green Heart a lot of the times deals with soil improvement. So we have a lot of mixes, biochar based solutions that we use to improve the soil. It also ensures that our ecosystem is in balance, biodiversity is balanced. Because once the soil is balanced, it means that soil creatures are in position, they are balanced. All other forms of biodiversity is balanced. It also helps us to be climate resilient. So once we understand CDR, once we know the matters that are coming up from CDR, we are climate resilient because we are climate aware. The reason we always have issues, okay, so why is it raining in March? Because March is like the hottest, it's supposed to be the hottest month in the year in Ghana. August is supposed to be the coldest month in the year in Ghana. It's been raining from March to April. Why? This is all because we lack awareness. So if we were aware, we would know that climate has changed, stuff has changed, and if you see some of these signs by this time, data should tell you that this should be happening and that should be happening. So you are well prepared, you are well built for the climate. You are not doing things haphazardly um, because you know the matters arising within the sector. Then again, it presents a waste to value opportunity. Now, waste is a gold mine for us at Brain Heart. For every gram of waste to us is revenue, every gram of waste is data, and every gram of waste is an opportunity to make an impact. So in fact, we value waste, especially when it comes to agricultural and forestry waste. That's our gold mine. And if there are people in the space like ours, then it means that in the next 5 or so years, we may run out of agricultural waste. Because one of the things that in our space, experts continue talking about, experts keep talking about is the sustainability of raw material. Because they feel that the waste will get finished, elsewhere waste is finished, not in Ghana. Not I mean not in Ghana. Waste, because people are eating coconuts every day, I mean, and they are throwing it away. We work on them. People are taking corn, they want to process it into condo. They want to. I mean, waste is always available depending on where you are. So this presents an opportunity for people who want to work in a waste to value chain to do so. Now, I spoke about the value chain and how it creates jobs. The CDR value chain is just like any other production value chain. So you have real production. So people are producing. I mean, farmers. So for us, farmers are producing. People in wood sector are producing. It's agricultural and forestry waste we need. There's a lot of biomass. Um, Even sometimes grass is growing. Simple grass is biomass to us. From there, we process it, we convert it into biochar. Okay. And then during the processing, we also take data. Data is very critical in this sector so that you want to measure at what cooking time the biochar is running on, at what temperature the biochar is running on, even when you apply it to the soil, what is the structure of the soil. So you measure at every point in time. And all these areas present an opportunity for people to work. It actually gives people jobs to do, and we'll get into it very soon. Then again, you need finance, so you structure carbon credit projects. You need project managers to do that. You need to secure investment. You need your accounts team, your carbon accounts team to do that for you. And then you need to also manage the flows, the revenue flows. You need a pure accountant to do that for you. And all these things are jobs generated. Then again, after everything, you even need to sell your carbon credit or your carbon based products. You need to market it. So you need a marketer to do some of these things for you. I was just looking at the data this morning, and only last week, Google purchased they purchased over 100,000 tons worth of CO2. I mean, they just purchased. They want to reduce their emissions, so they offsetted over 100,000 tons of carbon credits, and they paid money. There are a lot of businesses doing same. So a lot of the Microsoft is doing, Google is doing, JP Morgan is doing. I mean, a couple of businesses are doing, and that also means that a lot of money for people in the space. So quickly, I want to introduce 5 career pathways to you. Quickly, we know what CDR is now. We know the opportunities it brings to us, how it places Africa well, because again, there are a lot of well-thinking people who are unemployed. There's a lot of waste and all of that. I mean, you need to find yourself in one of these places. We'll get into them in much detail in the coming slides. Get yourself fixed in one of these spaces. So there's the technical and science area. Now, let me just issue this disclaimer. You don't need to be a science person to get into CDR employment. No, you don't. I am never a science person. I never did science anywhere. There's a technical area. There are also other areas. So please take note. Now, for the technical and science areas, there are the researchers, there are the analysts, there are the engineers. Um, I mean, they have their own role in CDR delivery. But there's also the business and entrepreneurship side, which requires that there should be entrepreneurs that should build business models to remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and that is my own space. I'm an entrepreneur, so I chose the path of entrepreneurship and business. There's also digital and data, so there's a need for GIS specialists. There's a need for um, other data analysts. So I was just talking about data. Even when you are cooking biochar, you need to record your residence time. You need to record the temperature. You need to measure a lot of things. You need to also go to the field and measure what field you are putting it on. You need to map all these things. So you really need experts. You need people who can understand the numbers and then report on it. Then again, you need policy and advocacy around CDR. This is what Eco Frontiers is doing, and they are doing a lot of policy. I mean, they really affect a lot of policy. I have met with some of the team members there, and I know they are shaping policies when it comes to CDR. They are shaping the rules. They are shaping funding. I mean, they are also shaping people to actually step into this whole CDR space. And then again, they are also shaping frameworks on how climate action is governed and all that. Then there's a field and operations bit. So these are like hardcore on ground implementers. So an entrepreneur would bring up something like a business model, but there's somebody on the field to actually test and see whether it works. So there are people who are implementing with farmers. They are farmers themselves. So even agriculture, farming is a pathway. It's a career pathway in CDR. So there's now something we call carbon farming. I know people who are not doing anything. They are not really doing any wild thing, but they say they are doing carbon farming and they are cashing out on it. So it's another career pathway we can look at. So then, in much detail, like I said, we'll be looking at it in much detail, but I think I explained most of these things already. So you have the climate scientists around the technical and science, you have soil scientists, engineers, the MRV specialists, they are there. Entrepreneurs and business people like us are also there, and then the GIS specialists and all that, farmers, they are all there. But critically, before you are able to get into these spaces, you require some skills. CDR is, though I mentioned that it is not limited to science people, it's also a science and you need skills to get into it. The first skill you really need is what I call the thinking layer skill. That's a foundational skill. You really need to understand what climate change is, what CDR is. You need to be a systems thinker. You need to think in the bigger perspective. So you need to understand that everything is interconnected so that the environment, the human being, the animal, the environment, they are all interconnected. If I want to change the human being, I need to change the environment. I need to change the way animals are raised. I need to change everything, you know. So these days in Green Heart, what we are doing is more focused on one health. So human health linked to animal health, linked to soil health, linked to environmental health. That is how you need to think. But then critically, you need to understand what you are doing, really understand. Then after you understand, you get into the doing phase. And trust me, you do not need to do everything at the same time. You can just pick one thing, start with one, just one thing, and build upon it. I started with research. So I was doing research. I was talking to research institutions. We were looking at a few things. So I was at CSIR Soil Research. We did some work with them, and I built it from there. I built it from there, and now I'm where I am. So do something. Just pick one thing. After you have built a lot of knowledge around it, pick one thing and do. Then you'd from there climb to the success layer. That's the transferable skills layer. So whatever you have learned, transfer it on the ground. Okay, so you have learned, you know what it is, communicate it clearly. You know what it is, incorporate it in your project. You know what it is. Think about system solutions, creative solutions, that you can really implement so that you are able to fit in this economy. Because trust me, it's an emerging economy, but it's a very big economy. It's a very big one. So find somewhere and fit. But by all means, go through a thinking layer, climb up to the doing layer, and you surely reach the success layer. I explained that, so I call it skills for impact, essential competence in CDR, the foundational skill. You need to be a climate literate. See, you can't do this if you are not a climate literate. I can guarantee you cannot. You can ask everybody who is talking about climate change and whatever, everybody learns. And you see, the space is such that knowledge keeps doubling like at a very rapid pace. So if you don't, at a very rapid pace. So if you don't learn, you'll always be found wanting. Like I said, systems thinking should be what you should be doing. Don't think in silos. In CDR, in the CDR space, you don't think in silos. When you are doing something, look at how it affects every other thing around it. Okay, then you get into doing, like really take an action. I told you this is not one of those like simple lectures. You come, you go, take an action. And I don't know how many people are on this call because I'm sharing my screen. I know I'll get to know soon. But then even if there are 5 people here taking action, the world will be a better place. So by all means, take action. And after you take action, make sure you solve the critical problems and you get paid for it. Now, um, the pathways proper. You really want to get into the pathways. I told you we would explain them in much detail. We already did a shallow explanation. But for the technical roles, we have the climate scientists, and well, these people are the people who are committed. They've committed their lives to climate change. They give us all the figures. They are the climatologists and all that. I don't know which universities do climate science at first degree, but I know at an advanced degree, University of Ghana, so CSIR University also does something. Most of them are environmentalists, so they call themselves environmentalists. But when you look at their course modules, you see that they fit to be climate scientists. These people can really help you to assess your sequestration levels. They can help you to design climate commitments, not just at the national level, but even at the corporate level. So that's their job, that's their role. We also have the soil scientists. So every soil scientist here can position themselves as a CDR, job pathway person. Okay, so you can tell people that yeah, you're in a CDR job role because I mean, soil science is beyond just looking at what can hold plants. The soil is a whole ecosystem that houses a lot of biodiversity. Okay, so when you're doing soil science, it's not just about looking at plants and how they can get nutrients from the soil. You are really looking at how to build or how to balance the biodiversity of the soil. So kindly take note of that. It's one technical role in CDR pathway. Then again, we have the engineers who are designing biochar kilns, biochar reactors. You have the engineers that are designing the DAC units, weathering systems. You have some designing some other things like solar panels, wind turbines. Because these days, even cook stoves, so there are cook stoves that are even passing for carbon credits like CDR removal stuff. So all these engineers are there. Then you have the MRV specialists. We don't have a lot of them in Ghana here. Most of them are coming from outside of Ghana. Even in Africa, I don't really know much. Um, but these are professionals who monitor the reports, they verify um, every ton of carbon that is claimed. Okay, so when we talk about carbon removal, the fact of the matter is it's not just in talk. Whatever you are doing should be measured, it should be verified, it should be reported, so that you don't report the same program or project twice. You need MRV specialists. And like I said, we don't have many of them in Ghana. So if you take this role, before people catch up with it, I mean, they are climate scientists, they are engineers, they are soil scientists, but MRV specialists are very few. Maybe Sisi can tell us after the end of the period. So, is anybody speaking? Okay, so I'd encourage people to look at that. Then the entrepreneurship and business, you can create carbon projects. Okay, so you can be a carbon project developer. That's what I do a lot of the times. I do a lot of carbon project development. You can also start up a climate business like what we do at Green Hat. You can do waste to value enterprises, and you see, it's not limited to CDR is not limited to agriculture, forestry, waste. When I'm talking of every waste generates some CO2. Okay, every waste generates carbon dioxide. So for the methane, for the carbon monoxide, for the all the gases, all the dangerous gases you can think about, we actually convert all of them into CO2. So when I say CO2, I don't mean that they just generate CO2. We always, during the calculations, we always convert that into CO2. So every kind of waste generates CO2. Okay, so once you can measure, you can verify, you can simply report that this waste to value project is actually sequestering this amount of carbon from the atmosphere. And I mean, you be a viable business, people will give you money, people will pay money so you can offset their carbons. So then there's also the carbon credit businesses. For carbon credit businesses, we don't have a lot of them in Ghana. We don't have a lot of businesses that are actually monetizing carbon credits because the framework, we don't really understand the framework. It's just a few people. EPA Carbon Marketing Office have some nice experts that can help. So we are positioning Green Hat in this vein. And we've already started a process. So this is what happens. You once you position your business as a carbon credit business, you will offset the emissions of other businesses. So because you have negative carbon footprints, and then maybe a Google is generating a lot of emissions, your activities go to offset their activity and they pay you money for it. So for biochar is a negative emission technology. So we once we produce biochar, it is applied by farmers and then it goes to offset some businesses emissions and they pay money for it. So that's another very interesting area we can look at. Then the digital roles, you have GIS analysts. So these are geospatial experts that they do critical designing and mapping and reporting. So once we say we have applied biochar in this space, we need some mapping to go on there so that the project is not counted as a double, So these people really like they are very critical. They provide critical insights when it comes to CDR projects. So you can also look at this career pathway. Then you can also decide to be a data analyst. Okay, so there are a lot of worksheets we work with. There are a lot of sensors. There are a lot of satellites. There are a lot of field measurements. I have spoken about them already, and this is all in the quest to measure the carbon removal. That's the CDR. Okay, so as a data analyst, you are working with all these numbers, with all these gadgets, with all these things to make sense out of the numbers. So I say I've produced, so I have removed about 4 tons of waste from the landfill, which would have been burnt into the atmosphere. After processing those 4 tons, I had a ton of biochar. And when I had a ton of biochar, in fact, the biochar, I cooked it at this temperature. I didn't allow emissions because I condensed the smoke into something else. And then this biochar went through this process and then it was applied. It's a data analyst who will put all those figures together and make sense out of them. We have only developed.
Um, Hello, Khaled. Sorry, audience. I think Caleb has an issue with this. We'll reach out to him to check it out. Check his. Okay. So, Caleb, if you're speaking, I think you're muted. You can unmute, speak. Hello, Caleb, if you can hear me, I think you are muted. You can unmute to speak.
Hello?
Yeah, hello, Caleb.
Yeah, can you
Yes, you
hear
can hear you
me?
now. Yes, please. You can do.
Okay, so where did the line drop, please?
Please kindly share your screen. I think your screen just is gone.
Okay, so a moment. Can you see my screen, please?
Not yet.
Okay, so let me reshare. A moment, please.
Sure, Caleb. As Caleb is setting up once again, if you have any question, you can put it in the chat. And it's time for Q&A. It's be thrown up to Caleb to answer those questions. Thank you so much.
Can you see my screen, please?
Yes, please, you can see your screen now,
All
but not
right.
your slides.
Not my slides. Oh, whoa. A moment, then. A moment.
So Caleb, I think you can continue to speak as you figure out the sharing option.
Hello.
Hey, hello, Caleb. You can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. So my machine is messy. I want to share my screen now. A moment.
Okay.
Okay. So let's go. Okay. So,
Hi everyone. Hi Caleb. If you can hear me,
yeah.
kindly go ahead with the presentation without your
Okay.
speakers.
So can you see my screen now?
Yeah, I think it's working.
It's on now. Okay. So please where did we drop off?
The
Hello.
digital career pathways, the digital.
Okay. 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 Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Yeah, so we've talked about GIS analysts, so data analysts as well. So there are carbon accounting specialists too. So these specialists develop and manage systems for tracking, verifying, and reporting carbon credits. So the accountants really do the work of like an accountant. They come to your business, they track what your carbon footprints are, and tell you as opposed to how much you are offsetting or how much you are reducing, so you can really juxtapose it and then know whether you are carbon positive or carbon negative or carbon neutral, so to say. So that's one other pathway you can look at. And then there are also software developers. So in fact, in this job, we need a lot of softwares to be monitoring stuff. So the MRV, everyone has their MRV software they use. So there are something we call carbon credit registries. Every business has what they use as well. So there are a couple of softwares. If you're a software developer, look into this space as well. Then there's a policy and advocacy bit of it. And like I mentioned, Eco Frontiers is doing a lot of policy and advocacy. So there are NGOs in this space. And whenever I think about NGOs doing things, I I really cast my mind back to when affirmative action was being talked about. It was NGOs that made it popular. And everywhere you go in the NGO space, in my previous life, I used to work with an NGO. Everywhere you go, affirmative action. In fact, when we even give women the nod, they'll be shying away. They still say women will have to take the lead and all that. In the same vein, when NGOs take some of these things up, it would move. So I know Solidaridad is also doing some good work in the carbon space. There are a couple of them as well. FAO is doing some good work. Eco Frontiers is doing marvelously well. I mean, they have put this meeting together as well. You also have environmental lawyers. Well, they some of them are not legal experts, but then they really shape environmental laws. So recently, we all know how people got into the Galamsey fight. Every CSOs are talking. Everyone is giving figures. They are giving us the laws that protect us and all that. I mean, they are experts in this field as well. And you can also consider going into environmental law. I know there's a program like that because I've seen something like that flying. I'm not sure if it's in Ghana, but you can explore some of these areas as well. Okay. Um, so then the last pathway I want to talk about is the field and operations. So you can decide to get into farming, implement regenerative agricultural practices. You can get into agroforestry, you can get into soil carbon enhancement. Like you can do carbon farming, and it's one other pathway you can look at because farmers are cashing in on carbon credits these days. I know Atmosphere did something with farmers in the north. I know Plambu is doing something with farmers in Ghana as well, in Volta. So, well, you can get into hardcore farming, and then you may get into the CDR space and then cash in on that as well. You can do extension for farmers. So you can have maybe a small business that provides extension services for farmers on regenerative agriculture, the use of biochar, and also cashing on that as well. You can also do community service if you are a philanthropist. You can choose to get into community service. It may not pay off like now, but then as you create awareness around it, get into agroforestry. I mean, most community service people are doing tree planting, so you can do that. And in some years, you may cash in on carbon credits, so it will pay off eventually. Then you can choose to be a technician. You can choose to operate a biochar system. You can choose to operate some CDR technology system in that regard, or you can learn how to how to manipulate it, because again, the engineers will build it, but they are not always there to fix it when there's a problem. So you can just learn around that and then be a technician as well. That's another pathway you can consider. So I think with that discussed, we know that the job opportunities in Africa is enormous. So because if you are not an MRV specialist, you're not a GIS specialist, you're a technician, you're a farmer, you're something, you're something. The job opportunities are there. And because we don't have a lot of these people in Africa, once you become one, you make it. It actually starts with you. So start thinking about it. Do not be a graduate, unemployed youth. Start thinking about these things, and I can guarantee you it will pay off in the future. So the carbon market it presents us with a huge opportunity. Okay, there are organizations that are buying carbon credits now. I mentioned Google, I mentioned Microsoft, I mentioned JP Morgan. There are a couple of them. I mean, there are lots of them buying. Go to CDI, CDR.FYI, and you see a lot of businesses buying carbon credits. Okay, and this high demand means that we can monetize it. We can generate income from carbon credits, and we can enhance our funding to actually unlock diverse sustainable revenue streams for us. So start thinking about it. The the opportunity is huge, and the opportunity is calling upon you. The opportunity is relevant and significant now because everybody is talking about climate change. This is the best time to get into a CDR opportunity pathway, job opportunity pathway. Now, one thing I want you to know is that Africa is not a follower in this. Trust me, we are bound to lead this. And let me actually tell you why I say this. Plambu is in Africa. I mean, they go for contracts out of Africa, and then they come to Africa to come and buy the credits. So they are like brokers to buy the credits. So they are in the middle. This person sells the credits, Plambo picks it and takes it out. If it wasn't an opportunity in Africa, I don't know why Plambo is here. I don't know why Atmosphere is here. I don't know why all these brokers choose Africa. It presents Africa a great opportunity and it positions us to lead. We are not a latecomer in this economy, trust me. We are the frontier. We are the leaders. The carbon credits is now like a whole tradable commodity for some businesses. So while others are trading in gold and oil, others are trading in carbon credits. It's actually a commodity now. And when a carbon project stores or removes CO2, it is actually verified and you get credits for it. And these credits is what we call money. Africa is in a better position to make a lot of carbon credits because most of these businesses come for the credits from Africa and then sell it. So my business works a lot with Plambu because we are doing something in Tachibana. So Tachibana Grain Heart comes together. We offset the carbon, give it to Plambu, and Plambu will go and sell it. And Plambu will now take their commission and bring us our money. Now, imagine there was no Plambu. It means that we're selling straight, and the farmer is going to benefit straight from it. So this tells me that Africa is positioned. We have a vast agricultural base which we use for our carbon credits. Okay, so um, because of this, we can really cash in on that. We have untapped land potential. In fact, we can't talk about it. Forest lands, we can't talk about it. We have a youthful population. We can really think. And I think Africa is one of the few places in the world where there's a lot of innovation. So in the US, they talk about Silicon Valley a lot. Okay, they talk about Miller Institute and all those. But the few friends I've spoken to in the US are not really interested in entrepreneurship because their systems allow them to work and make money. Our systems do not. So let's get into this. I mean, in Ghana and some parts of Africa, I have visited most Western African countries. I've been in East Africa. Um, I've not really explored Southern Africa. and then North Africa, but Central Africa, yes. And I know this gives us like a huge potential when it comes to positioning. We can really cash in on this, and we are leading this process as well. Just position yourself, learn well, and you will not regret getting to this space. I think the classical example I can give you is my own business, Green Heart. We are a carbon removal company in practice because we turn waste into biochar, which we use for soil improvement. This creates jobs and then gives us carbon credits as well. So yes, my own business is doing this, and so I can tell you that it's a good venture. Get into it. We have talked about where the jobs are already, but now I want to. I mean, this is the most critical part of the whole session. Okay, for your next steps, and your next step starts now. I want you to build knowledge, like get knowledge, really get knowledge. Eco Frontiers is there to give you knowledge. They are a very good resource. They really helped me with a lot of knowledge. So I keep mentioning them. Get knowledge. When you get the knowledge, choose your pathway and then connect with the community. Then take action this week. Today is Tuesday. By Friday, Saturday, you should have taken action. I want you to know that the future of carbon removal will not be built the future of carbon removal will be built like by people like you. Africa needs its youth leading this work, not watching from the sidelines. You are the only one who can build it. So take action this week. Then get started today, like today from now. Learn, join communities, volunteer as an intern if you have to. Start a small project if you have to. But by all means, do something today. Then I present to you a 30-day action plan. Okay. So in week one, which is this week, choose your pathway. That's an action you have taken. In week two, learn one skill. See, you don't need all these skills to make you to put you in the space. You just need one. Choose your pathway, learn a skill. There are a lot of free resources online. And then take one action. Take one action. Reach out to one organization, volunteer, do something, just one action. And then stay consistent with what you are doing. Be consistent with it. See, don't stop. You may not gain traction now, but don't stop. Trust me, I've been doing this since 2016. I've been learning since 2016. I only met Eco Frontiers last year, and today they say I should be on this webinar. You learn. I mean, by all means, learn. You will gain traction someday. You gain traction. I want you to reflect on this. For now, answer this to yourself. Which pathway interests you the most right now? I would have asked that you shared the answer in the charts. But if you can, do. If not, reflect over it thoroughly. Like which pathway interests you the most right now. And after you find the pathway which interests you, please take action on that. You can reach out to me. My contact details are there. I know Africa will build a future of climate solutions, and it will start with you. I mean, I really value your energy. I really value your willingness to show up. I really value your willingness to join this conversation. So just keep learning, keep building, and redirect all this willingness into action. Thank you. God bless you. God bless you, and God bless you. I'm open for questions. Thank you.
Wow, this was a great and super um knowledge shared by Mr. Caleb. And I reiterate his words. He says Africa has the potential as a youthful continent. We must not sit at the sideline and watch. We must take action and take advantage. And he says we should learn, we should connect. If you have to volunteer, volunteer, and then take action. Thanks, Dr. Caleb, for this wonderful words you've given to us. I know it will be a hallmark for most of us from today. So the time we meet again to say, yes, we took action, and this is the results, and this is how Africa is taking lead in the CDR portfolio, CDR space. thank you once again. We are open up for questions. If there are any questions or concerns or clarifications, please you can now raise your hands and I can give you the floor to speak or put your questions in the chat. So, Caleb, there's one question for you. It says, as a young entrepreneur like me, what strategic partnership do I need, and which companies or institutions are paying to offset their emissions? So this is from Bismarck.
Okay, so can I answer?
Yes, please, you can.
So I just mentioned that Google is paying, Microsoft is paying, JP Morgan is paying. I mean, these are big guys. And apart from them, there are other couple of companies paying to offset emissions. But you really need to you need to measure whatever you are doing. You need to document. It's very critical. You just not get up and go to Google and say that my business offsets carbon. This is it. No, you need to measure whatever you are doing. You need to verify it. You need to report on it. You and then you need to also so there's a CDR standards. There are standards that you need to follow. Okay. When you are ready, I know Eco Frontiers can help you. I know Ernest is knowledgeable in that way.
Hello, Caleb. We lost you.
Hello.
Yes, yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah. So yes, for strategic partnerships, you can form partnerships with organizations like mine are open for partnerships. I know Eco Frontiers is also open. You can form partnerships with them. They have some very good experts that can guide you on what you should do. But by all means, document what you do. By all means, measure what you do. By all means, verify what you do. And the verification is not by you. There are standards you need to go through if you want to verify what you want to do. So research and see where what you do fits, and you are good to go.
All right, thanks, Caleb. Before I move to the next question, um, is ECF Frontiers, we are not Eco Frontiers, is ECF Frontiers. So thank you. You can search us on our website and our socials as well, EC Frontiers. You can go to our website, Emerging Climate Frontiers, and you can find a lot of details of our organization. So the next question is from Edem, and she asked about MRV and she wants some details around it.
Okay, so
Hello, Caleb. If you're speaking, I
I'm
think,
sorry,
yeah,
CC, for massive. So MRV
yeah,
is yeah. So monitoring, reporting, verification is usually a software that carbon brokers refer to once you are presenting a carbon project to them. So it's a system to measure what you are doing. So once it measures, it reports, and then it makes your project verified. So yeah, the buyer or the broker has their system at their end, and then the producer also has their system at their end. So you do not key in anything manually. Sometimes when you're documenting manually, you may have issues. But when you have a system which monitors what you are doing, reports same, and then verifies what you do on your end, and the broker can also see same on their end, it makes it easy for them to reconcile. So it's basically a software system that will help you to report your project to the buyer or to the broker.
right. Thanks. I hope that answers the question well for Adam. So the next question comes in as, can I join your company for an internship and attachment? I'm an undergraduate offering climate change and sustainable development. I think Caleb would like you to do us a favor. We lost your presentation. If you can put the last part that has your details on so that people want to take your contact or want to reach out to you, can be free to do that.
Okay, so
Okay,
I will I
right.
will.
Okay, Ernest, please, you have the floor. You can unmute and speak.
Thank you so much, Caleb. This presentation is really amazing, and the insights
My
shared are
pleasure.
valuable. I do have a question. As a young man, um, now at the crossroads after undergrads, I there are no jobs in Ghana, and everybody is talking about climate change and sustainability and green jobs. And now we are talking about career paths and CDR. And I'm very keen. You said a lot of things from MRV specialists to developers who can develop the MRV systems to carbon accountants who can actually help us measure our accounting or quantify our carbon footprint or our carbon emissions. And then to entrepreneurs who can pick up these roles. What do you think is very feasible, the most feasible career pathway as we speak now, currently, for a young African or young Ghanaian man like myself who wants to start something for myself in terms of entrepreneurial or in terms of any other skill sets that you talk about as far as CDR is concerned? I want you to be very realistic here and paint the picture for me. I wake up and I am thinking, I want to do entrepreneuring in this area, or I have a skill set in coding and I can program an MRP software. Is it easy for me to do this and just be in the space, or you advise that I start from this particular place and get to understand it at this point before? And again, I know it's super relative to talk about how long it will take for me to build this skill set or to master in whatever I need to do. Can you give us an idea of how long you think it should take a young man who's an undergrad or even somebody who is very much interested in this area to launch themselves deep into a career?
Well, this is a very difficult one from a difficult man. I mean, it's not difficult. He's very, but he thinks so deeply. I wasn't expecting a question from him, but I'll attempt his question anyway. I know he's not an undergrad, but he says he's an undergrad. Let's move on. So Ernest, as an undergrad who has just completed school, personally, I may not advise you to get into developing MRV systems because it can be very tricky. You really need to understand the system. And like I said, knowledge keeps improving in this space. So it shouldn't take you less than like a year to really understand what it is. But as a young graduate, you need to do something to keep yourself, to keep running. The lowest hanging fruit really is something agricultural related. So you are either advise that you get into biochar production, which really is a very low hanging fruit, or get into regenerative agriculture. Once you're able to tell your story well, that will give you some time to learn around like carbon accounting, MRV systems, GIS, data analysis, whilst you do regenerative, something related to regenerative agriculture. After a year, when you've really gained your footing, you can really try and then start coding some of these systems. So personally, if you ask me, I would ask you to start out to set a small business or a small project somewhere which would really give you the leverage to learn around what climate change is. And again, as you engage yourself in some of these activities, it helps you to really think wide, it helps you to research wide, and it helps you to understand better. This was where I started from, and that is why I would say this. So, Ernest, I don't know if I have answered your question.
Thank you very much.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, thanks for that details. So the low-hanging fruit to start something agriculture related, which biochar, he gave us an example. Any other? Oh, Dr. Chrissy, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Caleb. This has been a very wonderful presentation, and thanks for the effort you put into to give this to us. My question is that let's say I'm a young person with 100,000 Ghana cedis in hand. Could you kindly help us know where to invest? I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, so that would depend on your interest. So if I had 100,000, I would push it into planting some eco trees, and then setting up a biochar unit. These two will be fine with me. But then I don't know your area of interest as well. So if you push money into an area where you are not interested in, you may not find it worthy. But build the interest. Once you build
Yeah.
the interest, yes, then find out what you do with ease, what will make you happy, and then you can push it. But if I have to advise, then I will go planting moringa trees because moringa sequesters a lot of carbon and it takes less time to also harvest, about 6 months, and that is also an economic tree as well, has a lot of value these days. And then I would also be doing biochar production. I'm saying this because I use moringa a lot in my biochar work. Yeah, so this is what I would do, Doc. Um, thank you.
Just a follow up. What if you don't want to do the hard work? You want your money to work for you? Are there some companies in the space that are willing to allow you to invest in the company? Thank you.
Yeah, so there are a couple of businesses. So I was discussing with a friend of mine who also does something in climate, CDR, the CDR space, and he wants equity. So there are businesses that are looking for equity. There are businesses that are looking for impact loans. So once you are comfortable with the terms, well, there are businesses you can invest in. Green Heart recently got investment from GB Hub Africa in like in the space because of what we do actually. And then I know AgriMecap is also doing something. They've also gotten some investment. So yes, there are businesses in the space that you can invest into, but then understand their business model before you put in your money, or else it will tell you nice things and you'll not get your money back. Thank you.
Great. Thanks. Any other questions? So another question again. So say my father has a mango plantation. Can I actually work on it concerning capture? So Valentine is asking.
Yes, you can, but then you need to like I said, measure. Once you measure your report, then it's verified before you can actually cash in on that. Okay, mango is a tree, it sequesters carbon, yes, but then we want to look at the whole value chain and how that creates a carbon negative footprint. Then you can now talk about how to cash in on carbon credits. But yes, mango plantation is possible. It's an agroforestry project, so why not?
Okay, thanks. So I let's add up from Dr. Chris's some question and the answer Caleb gave. If you go to the website Caleb said earlier, the CDRFYI, which will help you in most of finding most of the companies that are CDR based and looking for investors or are open for investments, and those also are willing to also offset by one of and stuff. So that's one of the places you can look to get some of these information and some of these companies. And also for CDR jobs, if you move jump onto CDR.jobs, you'll find tons of opportunities from some of these companies that are looking for people to work in their institution or company um, to help them in their processes. So you can also look out from that place. Thank you. So, Caleb, the last favor, still your screen is not shared. People are asking for your contacts, so if you can still share that
Oh,
with the public or the audience, would be great.
Okay, a moment, please. So I
As
thought I
Caleb does that, if there are any other questions, please we can still bring. If there's also suggestions or contributions to, yeah, open for that.
can you see my screen now, please?
I still know. So as you did, Francis as asking if there are any opportunities like NSS. Are there opportunities for NSS?
For NSS in my business, please.
I'm sure that's how the question is trying to land.
Okay, so in my business currently, not NSS, but then attachments, yes. Yeah, but then let's see, let's talk. I mean, we can always work out something. We can always work out something. So,
Okay.
but please, can you see my screen now?
Yes, please, you can see the screen now. So
Yeah.
people, you can take up Mr. Mr. Caleb's contact, his email, and a new website, and then you can reach out to him personal for any advice, opportunities as well. So thank you all for joining today's webinar. Um, this is just the first of all for this year. We have more coming up. Um, and if you go to our website, you could find most of our events that will be happening this year. It will be posted there, and then links for registration as well. Our next webinar will definitely be on the 22nd of May, 6th of May, sorry, which we are hopefully to get another speaker to speak with us. And also, we will be having our short courses, our frontier climate technologies short courses in these universities in Ghana. We'll be having one in University of Environment, of Natural and Environmental Resources. We'll be having one in University of Cape Coast. We'll be having one in K University, and we'll be having one at University of Health and Applied Sciences. So if you're in any of these institutions, you can be checking our socials, our website to register and join. Also, we'll be having our fellowship, which is called ASIFA, the African Climate Innovation Fellowship for Early Career Researchers. Which soon our application will be out. You can check all these information on our website and register if you're much interested, especially as a early career researcher. You can jump on it. And also, we'll be having our carbon accounting training, which will be coming on and to be announced soon when the time is due. So be checking on our socials, be checking our website for further opportunities, further activities, further events, and then we can continue to share knowledge and build the connection. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Caleb, for your informative knowledge you shared with us.
My
See you
pleasure.
next on our webinar. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.